I'm very excited to have our next session, our next partner here from selfpublishing.com come up and talk to you about how to write a book, why you should write a book in your business, right? And so we've got the founder of Public Speaking School and our selfpublishing.com partner, Mike Acker. Thank you.
Love it. That was my jam before I went in on a cold call to meet with my doctors when I was a sales rep and get me excited and pumped up and ready to go. But you know what doesn't get me pumped up every spring? Two things happen every April. Do you know what they are? Taxes and allergies. Some of them, they go together. You're allergic to taxes. And I was sitting there with my tax accountant in 2012, and he said, Mike, this is how much you owe from 2021. And I said, what? Have you ever done that before? What? No way. There's no way that I, Mike Acker, who's never made that much money, owes that much money from last year. And he goes, well, this is how much you made. You can see that I'm not like a systematic guy at that point in time. And I thought, no way. That year I had made well into the six figures for the first time ever, and it all started with a book. However, it didn't start with this book. In fact, my whole journey as an author and your whole journey as an author sometimes doesn't start very pretty. In fact, let's think about it. Who here has ever thought about writing a book? Who here really feels like maybe you should write a book? Who here knows somebody who can read a book? Okay, we're good. My first journey into this whole area of self-publishing started with this book when I was a pastor in a small town north of Seattle. And when I launched it and it went to market, you could see that it got 1 rating. That was also the year I got married. After that book gloriously failed, what happened was I had all these thoughts that came to my mind. Nobody likes me. My ideas aren't good. I just can't get it out there. If someone would just give me a chance. And so I took my book that I had worked on over the course of a year. I sent it to 10 traditional publishers so that they could recognize my genius, and none of them responded. So that document sat in a pity folder on my desktop for the next several years. Then, on the side, I was coaching communication, and I met someone, and her name was Rachel Richards, and she had written a book. She had found selfpublishing.com. She had written this book, Money Honey. It's got well over 1,000 reviews. She retired at 27, and it started with this book right here. And I thought, if she can do it, I can do it. So I went and I bought the book that we're giving away for free, published. And I went through it twice on Audible. I signed up in 2019 with selfpublishing.com, and I went ahead and wrote a book. And it's this book right here. And to this day, it has now sold well over 50,000 copies. It's been translated into 10 different languages. And the best part is I get these kind of phone calls. Hello, this is Mike. Mike Acker? Yeah, this is Mike. The Mike Acker? I'm Mike Acker. He goes, I just read your book. I was like, oh, cool. I picked it up. I work for the King of the United Arab Emirates, and your book changed my life. And I was driving thinking, no way. This book changed my life, and it changed the life of so many other people. But the big question a lot of people still ask is, but does it make money? So I decided what I'd do is I would just pull up my Amazon just from the United States from a couple of months of my first year after publishing it. And just so you can see, the first month when I published, not much, not very special. The second month, okay, that's kind of cool, a little extra money there. But you know what? I spent money getting it all done, so that's not going too far. A couple more months go by, 3,000. Oh, hey, this is kind of cool. A couple more months go by, 4,000. Every single year, this book gives me a nice $30,000 to $60,000 worth of royalties just in the American market alone. That was the power that it did for me. And that's what I want to talk to you a little bit about. Writing a book changed my life, and it can change your life, and it can change the people that you write for. Not only that, it can change your business. We firmly believe that a book is the best way to bring in new leads, new revenue, and all kinds of growth that you did not even know was possible to experience. So who am I? I'm the author of Speak With No Fear and several other books, founder of the Public Speaking School. I also corporate train, and I work with people like Stipe Miocic. Anybody know who Stipe Miocic is? Come on now, UFC, coming 309. John Jones, this coming Saturday, my client is going back for the UFC heavyweight belt. Do you know how I got that call? Because VaynerSports read my book. And they said, we have someone that we want you to work with. And that's how I got into that contact. So that's what books do for you. So here's what I want to do for you is I want to actually teach you how to write and publish a book that makes money. Now, this slide deck right here is going to have all kinds of information, and it's going to be a little bit like not drinking from a water fountain, but we're going to go straight to the fire department, and we're going to go all in. So I want you to get your phone ready, and if you're thinking, you know what, I could do something with this, then I want you to take some screenshots, because I'm going to teach you how to write a book in a weekend. Then I'm going to teach you how to launch a book so that you can make $10,000 from it within the first year. And then I'm going to teach you how to monetize your book and turn it into a healthy, maybe side revenue or an impact or anything else that you want to do for it. You ready for this? How do you write a book in a weekend? Before I ask that, who here hates writing? Oh, I'm talking to you, hand raisers. This is going to be good for you. Okay, so here's how you write a book in the weekend. First of all, you got to come up with an idea. So this is kind of like the pre-thing. In order to come up with an idea, by the way, we're doing these sessions. If you want a strategy session and you're like, hey, I want to write a book in 6 to 12 months, then book a time. We'll do that and we'll talk about that later. Okay, let's get over to this. Let's skip all the shift in the industry because that's not as interesting. Let's get into how to write a book in the weekend. The first thing is you need to find an idea. Some of you right now, you're thinking, oh, I got 15 ideas running around in my mind. Which of these ideas am I going to write? Here is how you figure it out. What is the broken record conversations? I bet that if you talk to Chris or Jonathan, the broken record is process, system, SOP, Trainual, playbook. So what should they write a book about? Playbook. It's processes, process, systems. What is the thing that you cannot stop talking about? By the way, if you have grandkids and you can't stop talking about your grandkids, then maybe you don't write a book about business. Maybe you write a book that you can give to your grandkids. And so what is the thing that is going on in your mind again and again and again? Then what is the special sauce? You started something. You got something legit. What is it that people ask you about? When I signed up for selfpublishing.com, I had no idea what I was going to write about. But I was doing some coaching on the side. And the number one question people said was, Mike, how do I get rid of my fear of public speaking? And I had 7 bullet points I had written down on the notes of my phone, and that turned into 7 chapters in a book with over 1,000 reviews. What is your special sauce? What is it that people come to you for? Then, what are the pain points or triggers that you or your business can overcome? So maybe you have a business and you want to establish expertise. A book is a great way to say, hey, here's my expertise. Oh, you're not sure? You don't trust us? Here, let me show you. In fact, selfpublishing.com, we have a book we'd love to give each of you, and it takes you from blank page to a great launch. In that book, we actually give that away. It's our proven process. It's something we solve for others. Okay, now you have your idea. What are you going to do now? We got so much stuff here, by the way. Sometimes we go long on these and we have full-on seminars. So here's the first thing. You got a mind map. Get that idea. Everybody got your idea in your mind? On your phone, take the idea that stands out the most. Take the one that you're most passionate about, happiest about, the most likely that you are to finish. And then what you're going to do is you're going to create a mind map. Right in the center of a page, you're going to put your idea. And then around that idea, you're going to put a whole bunch of other ideas. So it's right there. You put a whole bunch of ideas around it, and then all of a sudden your mind map looks like this. So let's just say, for example, that you say, Mike, you know what everybody asks me about is my cooking. I'm gonna write a cookbook. So you put right there in the middle, cookbook recipes. And then you start thinking through all the different breakfast items that you could create. And your mind just goes crazy. And you're thinking about that purple and blue slushy combined together. You're putting all of that together. Now you have a mind map. From your mind map, you turn that into your outline. Your mind map is your book outline. In this past slide, you saw that there's 5 different categories with 3 different points. Well, now what do we have? We have 5 sections with 3 chapters per section. And what does that look like? Okay, now this is our book. It's coming together. We craft that into more of a linear. Now we have breakfast, smoothies, juices, toast, and now you have your book outline. So sometimes we overcomplicate it, and it's something so simple where you can put that together, and now you're ready for a rough draft because you have your outline. So how do you do your rough draft? You set aside a little time over the weekend. You take about 10 minutes to do a little mind mapping. From the mind map, then you take a little bit, 10 minutes to do the outline, and then you take some time to write it out, kind of flesh it out with pen or paper, and then you can speak it out loud. And you can actually record it out loud, just like someone was saying earlier. You can actually do that with your book. Mike, has that ever been done? Absolutely. There's all kinds of people who have done this. An ideal length of a book, this book right here is 28,000. So what does 28,000 ultimately come out to? Well, you know what? It took me this entire thing to read out loud and do the audiobook for 3 hours. So if I want to dictate this out loud, all I would have to spend is about 4 hours to take all of my thoughts and put it right here. Now I just put together a book in 4 hours. Now you could do it the old-fashioned way as well. You could write every single day for an hour, which is what I did. But other people have done this. For example, right here, Hayden Crabtree, he has done incredible. He had this idea, he encountered us. He took his idea, his mind map, and in 4 months, he turned it into a book that was part of the business that he's been building. 4 months. And the entire thing he started with just doing on a weekend. So sometimes we overcomplicate it. And sometimes we underlaunch it. We go, hey, I got a book. All right, everybody, my book's over there. Why are people not grabbing my book? Because you haven't launched it. So now that you got your book, you've written it this coming weekend, you're inspired, you're thinking, you know what? The Ronzio brothers, they're not the only ones coming out with a book. I'm launching my cookbook recipes this next year. You get some time aside, you record it, you have it ready, and you get it all put together, and you're like, I got it. This is what you do next. You launch it. Why is it that the book that I wrote in 2019, kind of on a whim, is now on Forbes as the #1 book in the world on the subject of overcoming fear of speaking? It has been on business communication just at the very beginning of the launch, and then it has been for 3.5 years consistently a bestseller. Why is it? Part of it is because of really good launch. So let me show you how to launch the book that you just created. First one is you want to get a good book cover, something that grabs attention. Don't design the book cover yourself. You're not that talented. And even if you are a great designer, still have someone else do it, because sometimes the design that you use for yourself isn't actually good for a book. You're like, oh, that's really good for a home decor, but not for a book. You want a book cover that grabs a hold of someone's attention. Fire yourself. I love this one. Redefining normal. My favorite one is this one. When I got this book cover designed, I hated it. I actually still hate it today. But the book cover sells and people copy. And what is imitation? It's just flattery. I'm like, all right, thanks for that flattery. And then I take one of my books and I send it to them like, thank you for covering this. That's great. So once you got a great cover, you want to build a launch team. What does a launch team look like? You want a small group of people who support your book. Now, some of you, this weekend, you're gonna go, you know what? I'm writing a book. You know who your launch team is? The people at the table right by you. Grab a hold of those people. By the way, if you're a CEO, you're a founder, you're an owner, your company is now your launch team. And then you use that, and they agree to read your book. Leave a review, which is extremely hard. We'll talk about that in just a moment. And then they get maybe their name in the book, a free copy, a shout out on social media, some way that you recognize them. So the 3 steps to a successful book launch: get a book cover, get a launch team. The final one, get reviews. Have you ever been asked to leave a review for something? Did you do it? Do you feel a little bit bad right now? You're like, oh yeah, I was supposed to leave a review for that one thing and I didn't do that. We've all been asked to leave a review and we've all said, yeah, I'll totally do that for your restaurant. I'll totally go on to Google, I'll totally do that. 5 years later, someone at a conference is asking you that question and you just remembered that you never did that. In other words, it's really hard to get reviews, and this is an advanced subject, but really if you're gonna launch well, you need lots and lots and lots of reviews. And that's why everybody here is committed to going on to the launch of the new book by Chris or Jonathan. Who's writing a book? Both of you guys have books. So leave a review for both of them, and that would be an amazing gift that you give to them. Okay, what do you do after that? You got the book launch. Here's a great example of the guy who did this exactly like this. In the first year, sold 25,000 copies. 10,000 is a milestone. So when he did this, it was like, wow, I launched well, and when you launch well, the rocket can go further. So launch that baby up there so the world can see it. Okay, 3rd lesson. You got a book. That's great. Hey, if you're writing a book for your grandkids, you might not monetize that one. But if you're writing one about your business, your expertise, your playbook, your processes, your genius, your lessons, your secret sauce, your cookbook recipes, then how can you monetize that? There's all kinds of different ways. And this could be a whole different workshop, seminar that we could do for hours. But let me just walk you through a couple of these. First is you land PR. You become a local celebrity. My dad is an attorney in Washington State. At 76, he practices part-time, but enjoys it. Not too long ago, he said, Mike, I want to write a book. So he wrote Pirates, Scoundrels, and Saints. It's a novel. It's based on his own life because my dad was a drug dealer, which is a true story. And when I read his book, I was like, oh, I finally met my dad. He's all these different characters. But now, all across this kind of upscale area, people are like, oh, pirates. Now my dad is the guy who's known for writing a little bit raunchy pirate, scoundrel saints book. And it's like this claim to fame that my dad has in this area. Your book, whether you write about pirates or whether you write about your expertise in roofing, becomes part of your PR. It goes and does the work for you. More leads for your business. One of the reasons why we bring books, why? More leads. We're gonna give every single person who wants a book, we'll give them all away until the very end. Have you ever given your business card away to somebody and known in the moment you did it that they were gonna throw that business card away? You're like, and now I'm wasting paper, one card at a time. But when someone gives you a book, you almost feel guilty about throwing that book away, right? I'm not gonna read this, well, I'll put it on my bookshelf. And now they have real estate at your house. And every little while ago, they look at your book, the expert CMO. Oh, all right. And then someday you actually need that book and you pull it off and it's right there. So it's more leads. A great way for you to do that. You can get more referrals. So you're using this all the time. You're using it like candy. How much does it cost me for me to buy my own book? Anybody guess? $2.83. That's pretty good, especially if it turns into something much bigger. You convert more prospects into customers. Now, as the founder of the public speaking school, now I've worked with several hundred people and my books are out there. And so on LinkedIn, a little while back, I got a request. And it wasn't one of those ones that was like a scam. They said, Mike, can you come train our executive MBA program for Washington State University? Absolutely. How did I get that? the expertise qualified from the books. And one last way, you can increase your rates. Well, I'm not just some has-been. I'm just not some guy who's a hack. This is something I'm an expert in. I'm recognized as the expert in this area because I've written a book on it. Be like, oh, you've written a book? Yeah, I wrote a book on it. And they go, oh, well, you must be legit. Do you know how much I used to charge before I wrote a book? $60 an hour on Venmo. I was like, hey, that was a good session on communication. Glad I was able to help you out. Yeah, send me a Venmo. It's just a side hobby. Do you know how much I charge for a single session now? If we're just gonna do a single session, $350. And you're gonna pay in advance. And if you don't show up, I still keep the money. Why? Because I wrote a book. I feel like that Afro song, because I got high. Because I got high, because I got high, because I got high. Again and again and again. Why do a lot of these happen? Because I wrote a book. I like to call myself a selfpublishing.com evangelist. I'm like, you just gotta write the book. Ultimately, these are the 3 lessons I wanna leave with you. How to write a book, how to successfully launch, how to monetize. Now, if you're thinking, Mike, that's cool. I'm actually interested in maybe doing something like that. Selfpublishing.com, tell me a little bit more about that. Selfpublishing.com takes kind of the exploratory spirit of Indiana Jones with the accountability of Jillian Michaels. Get the work in, do it, come on. I would have never written my book if they hadn't said, hey, have you written your book recently? Have you been working on it? And I knew that conversation with my coach was coming up and I better do it. It's like CrossFit. First time I ever did CrossFit, I threw up because they told me to do every single thing that they told me to do. Now, when I wrote my book, I didn't throw up, but I wrote a lot. And we want to be that CrossFit Jillian Michaels trainer for you. So how do we help? Well, we do one-on-one coaching. We have step-by-step customized program. We have Facebook mastermind communities. There's live weekly groupie coaching calls. We'll take you from no idea to finish a book in as little as 3 months. For me, it was not 87 days. We also do a whole bunch of things for you. So if you're like, Mike, I don't know how to design a cover. Good, we don't want you to design your cover anyway. We'll do it for you. Mike, I don't know how to do this and this and this. That's okay. You don't need to know how. We actually do need to know how to do that, and we'll do it for you. So you're going, Mike, okay, I'm ready. Let's write a book. I got some great cookbook recipes that need to be out there. What do you do? Simply, set some time aside with us. If you're thinking, Mike, I could be the next Hayden Crabtree. I could do that. Or even if you're going, Mike, it's not about a business. Do you know what the favorite book that I ever wrote was? The Adventures of Pax Nehemiah. It's my son. It's an illustrated book. I've never done a lot of promotions. I've never paid for ads for it, but it's my favorite book. You know why? Because I wrote it for my son and it will outlive me. And when I gave it to him for Christmas, a published book that he could find on Amazon, he's like, wow, this is my book. He said, can we buy a whole bunch of these and give them to all my classmates at school? I said, no. I said, absolutely. Let's buy 50. Let's give them to the neighbor. Let's walk around with them. This is your book. That's you on top. That's your dog. That's your story. It was a bedtime story that we turned into a reality. And so, what does it look like to do so? Today, I brought with me, a couple of different slots, and then all day tomorrow, I brought my friend Christian with me. And Christian is a senior publishing strategist. He's helped literally thousands of people get started in this process. And if you're like, yeah, I want to do that. I have a story to tell. I have a legacy to leave. I have a lesson to impart. I have a business to build. I want to add in some PR, some marketing into my business. Then Christian will take you aside for about an hour. You'll have a great discussion, dive deep into the ins and outs of the process. And then afterwards, you'll walk away going, okay, I know what I need to do next. Now, here's the number one thing that happens at these times when we come talk to people. This thought process right here. The timing isn't right for me to write a book. Man, if I could go back. Do you ever think about your 21-year-old self? And you're like, that 21-year-old self, if I could tell him to drink less Mountain Dew and do more homework, that 21-year-old self, if I could tell him to do this, if I could go back and talk to myself at different ages, it would have been, write the book. The moment I wrote it in 2019, I thought, I wish I had known this when I'd written my first attempt. But I didn't. Often we think, man, I'll just do it tomorrow. I love what Zig Ziglar says about this. If you wait for all the lights to turn green before leaving home, you'll never get started on the way to the top. On our way out to Phoenix, I was thinking about the beauty of the peaks here. Anybody here live in Phoenix? Okay. What are the peaks here? There's 2 different places that people really go. Puestia Park, Peak, and Camelback. And I was looking at it, I was like, oh man, I would love to go climb the peak. I would love to go do that, but I just had no time. I was gonna be here early in the morning, we came in late last night, and then I was gonna be here all day, and then tomorrow I'm all day, and then I fly out at night. It's like there's absolutely no time for me to do so, and I actually don't know how to get to the peak, and I haven't climbed like that before. I don't know if it's steep, I don't know if it's dangerous. If I do, it's gonna be in the dark, and so what am I going to do? And I thought, you know what? If I don't know how to go and do something, I'm gonna hire someone who can help me get there. So 2 days ago, I reached out and I said, do you guide people up to the peak early in the morning? Because it'd have to be early in the morning. He said, absolutely. So this morning, I got up at 4:30 in the morning. I met him at 5, and we climbed up the peak so that we could see the sunrise, because there's always another excuse that shows up, and there's always another reason to delay what you know you want to do and would be good to do. Or you can just do it. And so for you, what are you delaying? Even if it's not writing a book, what are you delaying? Let's get it done. We would love to be your guide in this process. Hey, thank you so much for having us here. We'd love to talk with you. We're right back up there. Sign up for a session with us. We'd absolutely love for you to add 6 figures to your income and make a huge impact.